Hello and welcome to episode 2 of The Note Coach. I'm your host, Suzanne Culberg, and I want to know, do you know how long does a pineapple take to grow? Before you Google it, if you don't know, or decide to listen on, have a guess. How long do you think a pineapple takes to grow? In 2020, I did a course with a coach called Melanie Ann Layer, who was talking about how a pineapple takes 18 months to grow. And when I heard that, I was floored. 18 months? That's twice as long as a human baby. And the reason this really fascinated me and really stood out is how often do we try to make a change? Do we set a goal? Do we start taking some action? And after a few weeks, or maybe a few months, go, oh, didn't work. Didn't work. I'm not skinny, I'm not rich, I'm not famous, haven't found the man, don't have the house. It's just not meant for me. How often do we do that? Whereas if this thing that we were trying to do was a pineapple and we tried for a couple of weeks, we've got a long, we're a long way off the mark. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, if you go over to my YouTube, Suzanne Culberg YouTube, you can see the video of this and my other episodes. In my branding, I have a pineapple behind me. And the reason I have that is to remind me that things are worth waiting for. Like a golden fruit with a crown, it's worth waiting for. It's worth staying in the mud. It's worth sticking it out, taking that consistent and persistent action. Because the other thing sometimes people do is they're like, well, I planted the seed. It's been 18 months. Where's my pineapple? Like clients that I work with or myself in the past to be like, I've been doing it. And it's like, yes, planting the seed is the beginning. It's the initiation. It's the action you take at the start. But once you've planted the seed, have you been tending to it? Have you been watering it and weeding it and fertilizing it? How many of us, we plant a seed, we have an initiation, we start taking an action, we join a program, we hire a coach, we start a diet, we decide to build a business. This is going to be the thing. And when we're motivated and excited, it's really easy to take the action. But what we forget is that motivation's waxing and waning. Like transformation doesn't come from what you do when you're motivated. Transformation comes from what you do when you can't be fucked. And many of us only take action when we're motivated. And it's easy to do a rain dance when it's already raining. But when we're not motivated and we stop taking action, what do you think happens to the seed? If you're not watering it, if you're not tending to it, it dies out. And sometimes, like I have a long history, a long dieting history. So from age 4 through 30, I was on and off a diet for, 2.5 decades. And what I'd often do when I'm trying to drop big amounts of weight, 50, 60, 70, 80 kilos, is I'd start off by doing some rapid diet, like a juice cleanse or a shake thing, or I join a 6-week shred challenge. And when you're on a juice fast or a shake cleanse, or basically forcing your body to do all this stuff, it's literally like planting your seed in Roundup, because you're forcing your body to survive on not many calories, flog yourself, like burn to shred. It's not sustainable. You couldn't do that for 18 months. So for the week or two, maybe even month or 6 weeks that you can force yourself to do this, you do lose a large amount of weight. But how much of that weight is water? How much of that weight is muscle? How much of that weight is not the actual fat that we're trying to burn? And then at the end of that, while you're doing that diet or doing that shake or doing that cleanse, you're already dreaming about the burger you can have at the end. And as soon as you finish, you go and overeat, because as I think it's Gretchen Rubin says, for every diet, there's an equal and opposite binge. For every, the diet is Newton's fourth law of physics. For every diet, there's an equal and opposite binge. And then you regain all that and more. 18 months down the track, how many times have you forced yourself to start this unsustainable thing? Whereas if you just started small and took an action that you could continue doing for 18 months, that wasn't forcing, that wasn't pressuring, that wasn't, so many people say, well, I need that run on the board. I need that initial hit. I need that loss to keep me going, to get the momentum. Honestly, how many of you has that really worked for? Like, I would send me an email, info@suzanneculberg.com. I would love to hear, because I've never heard a story of an initial boost like that being successful in the long term. And I know for myself, every time I did that, it literally was like planting my seeds in poison and expecting them to grow. And then when I eventually was like, I'm done. I don't care what I look like. I'm never dieting again, never weighing myself, and never counting a calorie or a point or a macro or a micro or whatever. Initially, I did gain more weight. I wasn't weighing myself, but I could tell my clothes are getting tighter. Living on cookie dough, do not recommend. But when I stopped forcing myself and going from diet to diet to diet to be like, actually, I don't care what I look like, I'm going to follow my body's needs, I didn't enjoy that. Didn't enjoy overeating. I'm not saying I never do it. There's still times where I have my moments. But by going from the quick fix, instant hit, I need this motivation, I need this win, to like, this is the one body that I'm going to get. This is the human meat suit that I'm stuck with. And it may not have the genetics or the metabolism or whatever else. Like, I'm not gifted in those departments, at least when it comes to weight. But I'm going to make these long-term changes. I'm going to plant the seeds and I'm going to stick with them. But from there, true transformation happened. And it took me 3 years to release the weight. So you could say I grew 2 pineapples. But now, however many years later, I started this iteration in 2015. So from 2015 through 2018, I released 78 kilograms. And then now it's been 5 years that I have kept it off. I don't know how much I weigh now. I'm a few kilos heavier. I know that for sure. Clothes are a bit tighter. But I'm not in that cycle of all or nothing or on or off. And then from there, in other areas of my life, where are my other pineapples? You can have pineapples in business. Like, how many of us start a business and we hope that we go viral, or we hope that we have that one thing that takes off? And sometimes it can happen. But if you want to build a long-term sustainable business on that, you could be waiting a long time. And when you do hear people who have gone viral and you have a conversation with them, how many of them were an overnight success that was 15 years in the making? So all this to say, what is it that you truly desire? How committed are you to taking the action towards that? And to know that the pineapple is worth waiting for. And on that note, for anyone listening to this, when I rebranded at the end of last year, I brought the pineapple into my branding. A few of my clients, you know who you are. If you're listening to this, shout out. I still crack up. We're like, Suzanne, do you know that a pineapple is also the symbol for swingers? And if you've been thinking this the whole episode, like, good on you. You're my people, as in as entertaining. An inverted pineapple. So if you look at my branding, be very clear that the pineapple is the correct way up. But that's also a thing. Sometimes we hold ourselves back from something because to some group it means this. Pineapples might mean swingers to some group of people, though, as I said, from what I've seen, it's an inverted pineapple. But don't let someone else's take on something hold you back from having your own insight or your own breakthrough about it. So pineapple takes 18 months to grow. This is a summary of the episode. Pineapple takes 18 months to grow. Where have you cut yourself short? Where have you sold yourself out? Where have you done something for a few weeks or a few months and going, oh, this isn't meant for me? Because you have, haven't been honest with yourself about how long this is going to take and how much you're willing to do this thing. Because sometimes too, like in the beginning of my weight release journey, I always dreamed about having a six-pack, like six-pack abs. And then I was like, am I willing to do the amount of exercise required? Am I willing to eat poached chicken, steamed veggies, kind of that for ever more? Am I really willing to put this effort in to have this? And I was like, no, I'm not. So sometimes when you're like, actually, if it's going to take this amount of effort, I don't really want it. That alone can be so freeing. Instead of sitting on the sidelines going, I coulda, shoulda, woulda, or if only, it'd be like, yeah, I could, but I don't want to. Like that pineapple isn't for me. How freeing is that to let go of things rather than percolating in the if only. Anyway, I hope that's been helpful. If you've got any suggestions for future episodes, or if you want to give me some feedback, send me an email, info@suzanneculberg.com. If you want to be on a podcast in future, I'm going to be having these Get Coach sessions. Just head over to my website, click on free resources. My website, suzanneculberg.com, and check it out. Thank you for listening. I hope to see you on the next one. Bye for now.